Court file number 27CR217490. We, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the first degree while committing a misdemeanor on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. The verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty.
Welcome to BNC Live. I'm Kelly Wright in for Laverne McGee. A stunning outcome to the trial. You heard it there. Former Brooklyn Center police officer Kim Potter convicted on all charges. The 26-year veteran, I should say, shot and killed Daunte Wright during a traffic stop in April. She now faces sentencing on February 18th. And Potter was removed from the court in handcuffs. We also understand that she, of course, was found guilty on all the counts, first and second degree manslaughter in the fatal April shooting of Daunte Wright in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. She will be sentenced on February 18th, 2022. In body camera footage of the incident, we recall that Potter could be heard yelling taser, taser, taser 3 times repeatedly before she shot Wright during a traffic stop that was turned into an arrest. And unfortunately for her, she used her taser, did not use her taser, but actually used her service weapon. And that is why we have found a jury of her peers finding her guilty on both counts, as I mentioned before, first and second degree manslaughter. We are following the developments of this trial, a stunning outcome that surprised some people who thought it would end in a hung jury with the way the jury had been deliberating, perhaps not finding any agreement or common ground on their verdict, but it turns out that all of the jurors voted and counted her as being guilty as charged. Joining us now is Marie Pereira, a former prosecutor, and also we will be having some more context to this through your eyes as a prosecutor. Did the prosecution do its case the right way? Because there were some questions about how they did this following their opening statements.
I have to admit, thank you for having me, by the way. I have to admit, in the beginning, when I heard the prosecutorial presentation, I felt that they approached it in a very lenient way, and they were going according to legal issues of recklessness, negligence with use of firearms. They didn't inject anything regarding racial composition of the deceased person. And I felt that that might have been a mistake. But now, in hindsight, they did a great job with the presentation and omitting that entire racial factor.
So the outcome is what many people had thought should be justice for Daunte Wright. But of course, Daunte is not here to celebrate any justice. What do you think his family may be going through right now? Do you feel that justice has been at least provided for them to have some comfort in knowing that the person responsible for young 20-year-old Daunte Wright's death is now behind bars?
Absolutely. There must be a sense of relief. As you said, we can't ever get his life back, but at least there's accountability. And I believe these verdicts continue to show that if you don't respect human life, and not just Black lives, all lives here in this case, you will pay the price. You will lose your freedom. You will lose your money, because at the end of the day, there will be a civil lawsuit. She will be sued. Personally, the county will be sued. And that is a message that will be sent to anyone who is in law enforcement, who's recklessly putting people's lives in danger and causing people to die with their negligence.
And Marie, you'll recall in the opening statements of Prosecutor Erica Eldridge, she stated there are no do-overs when you cause death by accident or a mistake. You can't do it over. And she also went on to make the argument that police officers are trained thoroughly, and we entrust them, we the public, we the people, entrust them to safeguard us and to protect us. And when they have that weapon, we entrust them to not use that weapon to take our lives on the street. Her argument apparently zeroed in on the jurors as much as people on the outside looking in had some questions about the way the case was going with its ups and downs and a roller coaster. But that is the nature of trials. And that is the nature of what goes on in a court of law. But justice in this case, as we've talked about, has been served. I want to ask you a question about Judge Regina Chu denying a request by Kim Potter's defense attorney, Earl Gray, to let Potter go home before she is sentenced. Did that strike you as an odd request from the defense?
I'm not surprised. This came from the same defense attorney who said, "Oh, the arresting officer initially treated Daunte nicely. At least he didn't put a knee on his neck." And he absolutely is just, I feel he's racist and he doesn't have any regard for this human life that was lost. He actually said, "Oh, please allow her to go home. She was convicted of an accident." Again, insulting the jurors. They came to a verdict. They said she's guilty, and he's standing up saying, "Let her go home for Christmas with her family." Meanwhile, Daunte is not absolutely home with his family. His family's suffering, but it's okay for Kim Potter to go home. He's out of line.
Yeah,
His argument is wasteful.
and to your point, I want to drill down on that a little bit more in detail, because here's the quote that he actually said. She has deep roots in the community and her family's here, and there's no evidence that she would flee. Well, there was really no evidence that Daunte Wright, a 20-year-old, would actually try to get out of out of the police custody. He was getting in that car. We don't know if he was trying to flee or not. He was panicked. He was 20 years old. He was thinking, what's going on? He had just finished talking to his mother on that telephone. In hindsight, how do you think Kim Potter is looking at her actions of that day and looking at what happened? She could have de-escalated this, and Daunte Wright could be alive today, and Kim Potter could be at home today.
I'm quite sure if there was a rewind button, all parties involved would hit that button. But unfortunately, in life, there are no rewind buttons. Like she said on the stand, if it was up to her, she wouldn't have even stopped him in the first place. She only stopped him because the officer she was training needed that experience. So she stopped him when she knew that in that state, they weren't even really stopping people because of minor traffic tag violations. She did it so that she could get experience for her trainee. And I'm sure she regrets that now. But there are no do-overs. He's gone. "I'm sorry" is not a defense to manslaughter. You have to pay the price for your incompetence leading to the death of a person. And she doesn't get to go home for Christmas. And to that, I say yes, the jury did the right thing here.
Yeah, and the judge agrees with you. The judge actually was praising the jurors in this Potter case, basically stating that they did their duty when they really didn't want to be a part of this, yet they responded to the request to sit on this jury and deliberating for 4 days before coming to their conclusion of what happened and rendering their verdict. I want to ask you, what's the message this trial sends now to America? Because we've seen justice for George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and we've seen justice now for Daunte Wright. We did not see any justice for Breonna Taylor. Does the fight continue for police reform and criminal and social justice?
I do agree that the fight continues for police reform and social justice. I believe that people in their hearts are always going to have a degree of racism, profiling, moral judgment. And this case encompassed all of these issues. But it sends a message that if you deviate from what we expect from you as a police officer, you will pay the price. You will lose your freedom. You will be sued civilly. And in some cases, we will sue you, we will prosecute you in federal court, and we will make sure that we get compliance from you from fear, that if you don't follow the rules, what happened to Kimberly Potter will happen to you. So when you stop someone, make sure you have a good cause and make sure you don't judge that person because they have marijuana residue, smell of marijuana in their car. They may have a tag violation, and even an order of protection. Don't judge people and deem them violent and treat them like they're criminals just because they're having a contact with the criminal justice system. Their lives deserve value too.